quietly and follow along. At any point, click the pause button to catch up or take a break. Okay, for this painting, I have 11 by 14 inch canvas panel, and you want to start by dividing your canvas panel in half. I have it going landscape mode, the long way left and right, and I took a ruler and I'm measuring across. 12 plus 2 is 14. So I'm lining up my ruler, and since 14 divided by 2 is 7, I'm just putting a little mark with my pencil on the top and the bottom of the canvas board where the mark says 7. Then I can turn my ruler on its side, line up the marks, and lightly, very lightly, draw a line down connecting those points. Okay? Now we need to divide these two in half, and 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. So here's 3, 4, and halfway between is right here, 3.5. Same thing, now we're dividing it into 4 equal spaces. So top and bottom, 3.5. Draw a line, lining up those points. Make sure you line them up and then draw a line down nice and lightly. See, now I have 2 equal parts. We're gonna do the same on this big half. 3.5 on the bottom, 3.5 on the top, and draw a line down connecting those points. Draw your line really nice and lightly. There you go. All right, now we're ready to begin painting. For our background, which we're working back to front in this painting, that's how we do proper painting, I'm using this adorable little sponge. It's just a little piece of sponge, but it's gonna give us a really great texture when we dab. We're starting on the left side, at least I am, because I am right-handed. That way I don't have to worry about crossing my arm into other areas of paint. We're also starting from the outside of the canvas to the inside in each of these sections, which is going to be a different color. The first color you need is take a little dab in red. Okay. Now along the outside, you're just going to go up and down. Do you see the awesome texture I'm getting? This sponge also acts as a really great blending tool. But first, let's just start getting red along the edge. Refill your sponge as you need. And artist choice, I like to make sure I'm getting the edge of the canvas board as well. That's artist choice, though. To me, it finishes off your painting. Okay, we're going around the edge of the canvas board first. Now we can add in our second color, which is going to be orange. Okay, and I like to just go right along the red, again dabbing, going right up to that pencil line, and then you can go a little bit over it to really get some good blending. I'm going to grab a little bit more orange, following that edge and working our way to the inside. And now I'm just going to be dabbing a little bit more in the center. Okay. You can always go back and add more around that edge if you want it more blended or a little darker. That would be totally fine. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to orange and go more in the center, finishing that up. You can even take a tad of white or yellow to lighten up that center bit. Make sure your canvas is completely covered. We don't want any white spots. Okay. And there you go. That is step 1 of your canvas board. Let's go to the second color. And what we're going to do next is I'm going to go rinse out my sponge. Okay, for our second space, we're going to be doing blues, starting with a dark blue and then adding white in the center. So we're starting, remember, on the outside. And you can even bring it down a little bit more. Don't worry about going over the lines. Remember, doing the edge of the canvas board as well. Now we're making the edges of the canvas dark, okay? Not the spaces, the edges. So I'm going to come down here. And it's okay if you get little touches of red and the other colors. That's completely fine. I think that actually gives it a cool effect. Okay, I'm gonna make sure I get the edge of my canvas board. And I'm gonna slowly start to work towards the center, just kind of feathering, letting just the rest of the paint that's on the sponge, you know, be on the canvas. Now we're gonna take a dip in white and slowly blend white and blue, and you're gonna get this really cool effect. Okay, there you go. Now remember, you can always go back and add more dark blue. So I'm filling in the space. I'm gonna add a touch more white in the center. Now I'm gonna bring it in to the bottom and slowly blend it. Moving it back up, just filling in those spaces. Very good, everybody. All right, we're gonna pause and look at my canvas. I just wanna do a little bit more blending with my dark blues at the bottom and top, so I'm gonna grab a little touch of dark blue and just go back over those things and slowly blend it down. Okay, get at the bottom, just do a little touch. Kind of blending it a little too much, so I'm gonna add white. There you go. Looking pretty good. All right, let's go clean off our sponges, do a quick dip, squeegee, and next color. All right, our next color is purple in the third section. Same as the blue, we're working with a purple, and we are dabbing, making sure you get the edge of the top, slowly working our way down. You can go over and kind of blend with the side of the blue. That will give a really cool effect. There we go, and I'm gonna do the bottom. Slowly blending over with the blue, getting our bottom edge, and going towards the top of the canvas. Slowly working our way up, not adding any more paint. I'm just letting it kind of feather. There we go. Now all you need to do is just add a little white. And I like to start more towards the top, slowly grab some purple, and then dab it down. A little blending. Need a little bit more white for the center area. All right, not too bad. I am gonna go back and I just wanna touch up my dark purple along the edge. Just blend it in a little bit. Make sure we covered all those pencil lines and no white spaces. You guys are doing great. All right, looking pretty good. Rinse out your sponge. Let's do the next section. Okay, lastly, we're gonna do kind of what we did with the red, going around the outside edge with our darker color in this section, which is green. You're gonna be really good at using the sponge and dabbing. Slowly working over towards the center, overlapping just a little with the purple section. Making sure you get the outside edge of the canvas too, even the siding of it, okay? Kind of blending it slightly with purple. You're gonna go in about that much, and then you can start to add yellow, which is really gonna brighten up that green. Okay, slowly blend it in. Remember, outside to inside. That's how we're gonna get this really cool glowing effect of our picture. Just really easy around the edges, blending it as we go. All right, awesome job, everybody. You did some great dabbing with your paint. And now you're gonna move on to your foreground. This was your background. Woohoo! The next step to our painting is now we're going to be working on the foreground. The foreground is the part of the picture or the painting that is closer to you. We just painted our background and our four season trees. And for this next part, we are going to draw the trees first on our canvas panel so it's easier for you to paint. Sometimes when you have a little bit more practice, you could just go ahead and paint the trees right on. For the purpose of the video, I am going to be using a Sharpie marker so you can see what I'm drawing really clearly. You are going to want to use a pencil, okay? The reason we use a pencil is sometimes when we paint, especially using lighter colors like white, we might see our Sharpie lines through a bit more. So I strongly suggest a pencil because you can always erase. Again, I'm starting on the red and moving left to right, just because it's a little easier. We're going to be painting some trees, and we're also going to be learning about trees today. Now, we're going to start at the bottom of the tree, work our way up the trunk, and then to the branches. So I like to leave a little space at the bottom of my painting, about that much. And the trunk is going to be a little bit wider at the base. And it's going to come up about that far. Here is my trunk. Remember, the trees always are wider at the bottom, so they have a stronger foundation and structure. Next is our branches, and we're going to continue going up our tree. Okay. And our tree always gets narrow at the top, and it makes other narrow branches that are going to branch off literally of your tree. And you can have them cross over just a little bit into the other sections if you need to. Now these sections, you're going to just kind of make them, these branches, just kind of spread them out on the top of your tree. And before you draw, I do want you to take a moment and pause and look at my branches and the angle they are going at. Right in here, this angle, it's not going straight out, it's not going down, it's going up. Trees reach towards the sun. So I like to aim for like about a 45-degree angle in here, all my branches. So I have my main branches. Now I can go in and add some smaller branches. Again, using that angle. I'm gonna add another one right there. Okay, and you can add to your branches as you see fit, but that is what we're going for our tree. The blue space is the same thing. Because we're going to be painting the blue space a birch white tree, I definitely don't want to use my Sharpie marker, so I'm going to switch to a pencil. And we're repeating the same steps all the way across in our panel. So let's do it again. And I apologize if you can't quite see the pencil, but I'll talk you through it, starting with a strong foundation of our tree, a little wider at the base, and then slowly getting narrower towards the top and maybe going off to one side. Adding more branches at a 45-degree angle in a little bit like smaller thickness. And then just kind of spreading them out farther down the tree trunk. Okay, there we go. And I'm gonna add maybe one more right there. Now we add smaller branches, and I'm just using simple line, again at a 45-degree angle. There we go. That is my second tree. I'm going to go back to using the Sharpie marker so it's easier for you to see at the purple. This is going to be our spring tree. Same thing, wider base at the trunk going up, and then kind of, making our top branch. You can even put it off to the side. I like to get narrow again at the base, making those V-shaped branches that are going towards the sun. There we go. And adding in some thicker branches as well. Don't forget to add those smaller branches. Now for the red, purple, and green trees, we are going to be adding leaves over those, but that builds us a nice structure of the tree shape and gives us a good foundation. The birch tree in the blue section, we will also be adding more snow, but not as much. So the tree base is really going to show. Last tree is the green, same thing. You're getting to be pros at drawing trees. Getting in your main branches and then going back in with some of your finer branches. Okay, that's how we draw a tree. Now we can begin painting. And when we paint our red, purple, and green section, those are going to be all black. This is going to be a really cool effect. We're creating something called a silhouette. Okay, a silhouette is when a shape is completely black because of the way the lighting is. Sometimes when we're looking directly in the sun, everything in front of that is more actually like a shadow. We can't see all the details because there's no light shining on it. But the black in this picture gives our trees a really cool effect and draws attention to the seasons on the tree. So I'm using more of a fine paintbrush so that way I can get all those branches and details. For the bottom of my trunk, I'm just kind of spreading out the paint, letting it take like a natural shape, however it kind of ends, similar to how a tree hits, when it's coming out of the ground. Doing all my branches. Now artists, when you use a fine paintbrush, think about pulling the paint, okay? Just pull it and add more as you need. There we go. And we are gonna paint the red, purple, and green tree black. Our blue section will have a white tree that is birch. I'm gonna speed up the video now and let's paint. All right, I bet your trees look really good. This is a great start. So what we're gonna do next is, I'm not even gonna wash my brush. My trees are still a little wet. I'm just gonna dip right into the black. We're gonna be drawing the horizontal lines on our birch tree, just those little details. And so I like to start just again at the bottom. They're gonna be kind of, I don't wanna say like tiger stripes, but this is just details in the bark, and you can add them sporadically up the trunk, just like that, a little at the bottom. You can even add like small little tree knots for this birch tree, just to really make it look cool. Do the best you can. The branches, boys and girls, I know they're small. Okay, I'm gonna add like a dot right there. Just those little details make this tree just unique, because we're not gonna be adding different leaves and things to it to make it unique in that way. Okay. Don't be afraid to do more of like a clusters, and you don't want to have it like an exact pattern, kind of have some maybe closer together in some areas. All right, very good. Let's let our paintings dry, and then we're going to talk about adding the next part of the details in the foreground, which is our leaves at the top and even a little bit at the bottom, and then we're almost done with this gorgeous painting. All right, artists, now it's time for us to add our final parts of our picture, which is the leaves in each of the trees. I'm going to start once again left to right, so I don't have to worry about my hand getting full of paint as I'm moving along. We're going to start out just like how you did. I like to do some darker tones, and we're going to do a technique called dabbing, where you take some paint and you're going to make some circles and going up and down with the paintbrush, straight up and down. Okay, and then I'll go over and I'll add some orange, because this is fall, and I'm not going to totally fill up this tree because fall is losing its leaves, right? So I'm just going to be using red, orange, and yellow, and I'm just going to be making nice dots to represent the leaves. Okay, and you can even do a little blending, because trees and leaves, especially the leaves, they change color with the seasons. If I want to lighten it up, I could add a little white. At first it might look like snow, and don't panic, but I'm laying a good base foundation, so then I can go back over that white and it will lighten up the orange. Here I go, just kind of going back over. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna go back and use red. And a little white, just to kind of give it a foundation. You can have some leaves falling. Don't worry if you don't completely mix in that white. Like, I personally like it. To me, fall always has like a little bit of snow anyway, like a frost. So it kind of works. Now notice where I'm putting my leaves. They're going kind of around in bunches on the branches. Okay, let me get a little red down here. I'm going to add some leaves at the bottom with a little white just to get a little base color. Now I'll go back with some orange just to see, you can really see it there, how it lightened it up. There we go. And I'm even going to go add in some green to these leaves because the leaves are changing. Once again, with the leaves, like the branches, don't be afraid to go into other sections just a little bit to make it look like the trees are kind of blending together. Okay. Very well. We are going to move on next. I'm going to skip the blue section because there really is no leaves in winter, especially on birch trees. So I'm going to go to the purple section, and for this section we're using purple, and I'm not even going to wash my brush. I'm going to just use those brown tones and greens, and I'm going to again start dabbing at the bottom, but this time we are really going to fill up this tree with reds, purples, and even a little white. Okay, you can start it with a base of purple going over some of your branches. Now we're not covering the branches completely this time. We just want the tree to look more fuller than the fall tree. This is spring. So our tree maybe is still budding a little bit. Okay. And always you can add a little white to really give it a nice pop of color. And then maybe get a light purple in there as well. I'm going to add a little red now and white to make it more of a pink, like a pinky purple. So I'm just alternating white, pink, and red as I see fit as I'm filling up this section on the tree. I'm using a little bit more white towards the top now because that way I'll have really good contrast with the darker areas of our background. So now I have white, so I'm going to make it more pink, so I'm going to go in with some reds. You can see how I'm getting a good layering here. It goes from dark purple to like a light purple to like a red on top. Kind of a cool effect. Okay. Very good. Now remember when I'm dabbing, you can go straight up and down if you're going to go really gentle. We don't want to smush the brush hairs too much. I'm kind of going on a slight angle and just pushing the paint just a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit of red in some areas just to give it more of like a springtime feel. There we go. I'm going to go back to the bottom a little bit here, and maybe I'll add it more like a grass. So I'm going to be flicking kind of the paint up. And I'm using whatever's left on my brush. This is called a dry brush effect, where it's really dry and it looks kind of crispy almost on the canvas board. Put a little bit in the other ones. There, very good. Wow, these paintings are really coming to life. I'm gonna keep going, and now I'm not gonna clean my brush again. I'm gonna go straight into green, and it's gonna give me more of like a brown tone, which is gonna be perfect for like an underlayer in our green. Okay. Now this tree can be super full as well. Remember, we're not going to cover up all the branches, but we can certainly do a little bit more and add a little bit more color and pop and variety in this one. Okay, there we go. I am going to go into white a little bit because I would just simply like a light foresty green. A different color than what's on the canvas. Okay. You can also add touches of yellow, and that will give you that nice lime green color that we used in the background of this section. So ultimately, have fun making this scene your own with the trees. Add just a touch of yellow in there to get that green coming through. I'm almost out of yellow paint. There we go. Oh yeah. Now if you're going, it still looks like snow. Don't panic. We can always just add more green. Okay, I'm gonna blend it over into that purple section a little bit, taking a little bit more green. Okay, and once again at the bottom, we are going to be adding some, I like to just add some grass. This time, I'm doing more of a wet effect, so I'm taking paint. I'm going to go back over it with white so you can see a little bit more clearly. But I am just taking paint and making strokes for grass. I use white and green. I'm going to blend them a little while stroking up to give a little bit more blending. Okay. I would like a little more contrast towards the top, so I'm going to go with a little white up there. All right, and that is our painting. Thanks for joining me. If you want, we can go back to the blue section, add a little snow. That would be completely fine. So that is your painting. Thank you so much for joining me.